John Cena is without question one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time due to an insanely successful 15-year run at the very top of WWE. His recognizability rivals that of Hulk Hogan and The Rock as the biggest stars to ever come from wrestling. His story is one of chance. He was given the biggest opportunity of his career when he debuted against Kurt Angle and helped make the phrase Ruthless Aggression famous. However, just 5 short months after his June 2002 debut, Cena was informed that he'd be released during WWE's annual Christmas Cuts. With his back against the wall, Cena turned to one of his true passions, rapping, and he used this persona to create the Doctor of Thuganomics gimmick, which allowed him to keep his job. This is the story of how John Cena parlayed a chance meeting with Stephanie McMahon into perhaps the greatest career in WWE history. John Cena was born John Felix Anthony Cena to parents Carol and John Joseph Cena in West Newbury, Massachusetts on April 23, 1977. He is the grandson of baseball player Tony Lupien. Cena wanted to follow in the footsteps of his idol Hulk Hogan by becoming a professional wrestler. Cena journeyed to California where he wrestled on the indie scene as the Prototype, shortly before being signed to WWE where he became a member of the OVW4 alongside Batista, Randy Orton, and Brock Lesnar. John Cena's rise to fame is a fascinating one as he was homeless for a period of time while working at the Gold's Gym in Venice Beach, California. He lived out of his 1991 Lincoln Town and would shower at the gym and work out in between long shifts. Successful people tend to have a story of betting on themselves early on, and even the greatest of all time, John Cena, is no exception. During a sit-down interview with Kevin Hart, Cena proclaimed that his whole existence was, quote, an accident. To which Hart replied, "What the F does that mean?" He continued discussing his struggles and stated that he ate at a pizza place in California called Zeppi's that offered a challenge to anyone who could eat a whole pizza. They would then get the pizza for free. Cena says he ate there every night for months and that it kept him alive. Cena broke into the wrestling business with the help of the Bell brothers, Mark, Chris, and Mike. Mike is pretty well known in the wrestling community, mostly for the incident when Perry Saturn legitimately shot on him and threw him head and neck first onto the mat. The brothers and Cena wrestled for Ultimate Pro Wrestling. This is where Cena polished his Prototype gimmick. The Prototype was a robotic character that was probably not destined for sustainable, long-term success in the WWE. Cena showed up to Ohio Valley Wrestling and almost instantaneously became a star pupil in the developmental territory. Jim Cornette, who was in charge of the territory during Cena's time there, had rave reviews for his time coaching Cena. He told a story about how Cena came into town early on after being hired and got an apartment in the area on his own instead of waiting for management to help him get one. Cornette went as far to say that he thought Cena would have been a Ric Flair-like talent from an in-ring perspective, and that Cena never gave him any problems. In June 2002, shortly after Vince McMahon stood in the middle of the Monday Night Raw ring and coined the phrase Ruthless Aggression, John Cena's number would be called. Cena had his ticket to the big time and was given the biggest golden ticket to a guy that was eating pizza out of the backseat of his car just 3 years prior could ever be given. On the June 27, 2002 edition of Thursday Night SmackDown, the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle was standing in the middle of the squared circle holding a microphone. With that microphone, Angle laid out a challenge for anyone who thought they had what it took to step up and challenge him to make their way out. And out came the Prototype, John Cena. He was walking towards the ring looking like a creator wrestler with generic black and red trunks and royalty-free music. Angle uttered the words, "Who in the hell are you?" To which Cena replied, "I'm John Cena." And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. History was made, and the landscape of WWE would never ever be the same again. Angle asked Cena what quality he possessed that made him think he could stand toe-to-toe with him in the ring. To which Cena replied, "Ruthless Aggression," and then slapped the ever-living hell out of Angle. After the match against Angle, Cena received a huge nod of respect when Undertaker shook his hand in a backstage segment. Even though this was a fictional segment on a television show, Mark Calloway certainly did not have to go out of his way to do the segment and give Cena that show of respect. It was clear WWE had big plans for their new star. The debut went about as perfect as any debut could. In hindsight, this moment has become famous and is recognized as one of the best debuts of all time. A few weeks later, Cena would pick up a huge win over Chris Jericho, who was undisputed champion a few months prior, in his pay-per-view debut at Vengeance 2002. Just 3 months after wrestling Jericho in his pay-per-view debut, Cena found himself in mixed tag team matches, teaming with Dawn Marie and facing Billy Kidman and Tori Wilson. Shortly thereafter, Cena would be informed by WWE management that he would be getting his release in November. In Cena's words, the WWE used to do talent cuts twice a year, one in May and again in November, and Cena was one of the unlucky ones that would get his release in November. Just how in the hell did we get here? How did John Cena go from being handed a golden ticket to the big time to being released within 6 months? Cena put it this way during an appearance on Edge and Christian's Pod of Awesomeness. To paraphrase, he said that he was solely focused on showing off his in-ring skills and showed zero interest in creating a character. He went on to say that he could have made a lifelong character off of just the 2 words, Ruthless Aggression, that Vince McMahon had personally given to him. Cena lost sight of what was really important in the wrestling business: entertainment. At that time, in mid-2002, WWE was still in the mentality of entertainment and storylines first before in-ring ability. Nowadays, it is much different as young wrestlers get noticed based on their mat skills. Cena, like everything else in life as he put it, had failed at the WWE. He was on one last European lap tour where he was wrestling in those mixed tag team matches just before he was set to be released. While sitting on the tour bus, he overheard Rey Mysterio and Rikishi freestyling in the back of the bus and decided to join them. Cena was an awesome rapper and had all the wrestlers laughing and entertained. Bruce Pritchard said that if he could entertain the wrestlers, he'd no doubt be able to entertain the fans. Now, by miracle, Stephanie McMahon just so happened to be on this tour bus when she took note of Cena's freestyling and asked him to rap on the Halloween edition of that year's SmackDown. This was the life-changing opportunity for Cena that he was looking for. It had all clicked for him, and he finally found his character as a white boy rapper named the Doctor of Thuganomics. Now, before I get to that, I just want to address a misconception or perhaps an instance of WWE rewriting history. For years, the OVW4 has been a bit of wrestling royalty amongst fans. This tandem is arguably the greatest collection of first ballot Hall of Fame talent any WWE developmental class has ever produced. Its members are Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, Batista, and John Cena. Now, Cena was not actually viewed as highly as the other 3 members by the higher-ups in the company, as Lesnar, Batista, Orton, Shelton Benjamin, even guys like Ron Waterman and Sylvester Terkay were all priorities above Cena. Cena worked his way through developmental and eventually outclassed those guys and became a superstar pupil, as I put it. He outclassed Waterman and Terkay and even Benjamin, but he was still seen as behind the other 3, Lesnar, Batista, and Orton, in a number of ways. Cena said he was the last pick of that draft, and then he went on to be greater than all of the rest. Now back to the Doctor of Thuganomics. John Cena was not going to squander yet another opportunity. This time he went all in on his rapper gimmick by buying jerseys of sports teams for every town the WWE went to, different sneakers, and really anything he could do just to stand out. John Cena's rapping gimmick quickly became a hit, and there was even a point in 2004 where he received a standing ovation and was the most over babyface at WrestleMania 20 in Madison Square Garden. A crowd that would go on to hate him just a few short years later. The Doctor of Thuganomics is one of the most important eras for any wrestler of any time. Cena gave us countless memories that are still circulated on the internet till this day. The moment of him spanking Stephanie McMahon or freestyling with Kurt Angle are just iconic. And the Doctor of Thuganomics will live on forever in the wrestling vault. One of the things that made the gimmick so special was that Cena never went back to it or had a nostalgia run aside from a couple appearances, one he did during his feud with The Rock, and another at WrestleMania 35. People always wanted more of that Cena. Smartly, Cena turned into a superhero babyface to match the new family-orientated direction that WWE was going into. Let's be honest, if he had done the rapper gimmick for 20 years, it would have gotten old pretty quick. The gimmick had a shelf life and worked for the times as hip-hop, particularly Eminem, was the biggest thing going in pop culture. John Cena parlayed an Eminem-inspired gimmick into becoming one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty grateful that John Cena did not get fired in 2002. Thanks for all the memories, John. It's great to have you back on SmackDown for the time being. Hopefully you are all enjoying his current run because this could very well be his last. Let that sit in. John Cena is 46 years old, and is close to retiring. It's unbelievable. I feel like I watched the guy grow up. I've been watching him literally his entire WWE career. Now, thank you all for watching. This has been another edition of Wrestling Uncovered, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace.